What's going on, XRP Army? It is Joe. Welcome to the channel today. Today I'm going to be going over all things XRP. We're going to be talking about the crypto reserve. We're going to be talking about the crypto summit. We're going to be talking about what the president of Ripple said about XRP and why the floodgates may be about to open. So we have a lot to unpack today and we're going to be going over it all. So if you guys wouldn't mind, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and turn on the bell notifications if you want to hear more videos from me. That would be greatly appreciated. But starting off today, I want to talk about this crypto summit that's coming up on Friday. There's a lot of talk that we're going to get more information about the strategic reserve and what that's going to look like, whether or not that's going to happen. A lot of people think we are going to get that because President Trump did talk about that Sunday. He did mention 5 different coins that would be included, but that he left it kind of vague after that. He didn't talk about allocation, how the money is going to be invested into those coins and how much money is going to be invested into those coins. So there's a lot of unknowns and a lot of people are hoping for some clarity coming up on Friday. There are a lot of Bitcoin Maxis that responded very, very harshly to the news this week about these other coins that were going to be included, as they always thought it would just be a Bitcoin strategic reserve and not a crypto strategic reserve. So a lot of people got angry, a lot of people got upset, and a lot of Bitcoin people are still holding out hope that it's just going to be a Bitcoin reserve and that these other coins won't be included. They try and justify it by saying, oh, like it's going to be, he's still going to say positive things about these other coins. They're not going to be in the reserve. It's just going to be Bitcoin and so on and so forth. I don't know if I believe that. I think the Bitcoin people are just trying to tell themselves that. They're trying to feel better about themselves. They're trying to feel better about Bitcoin because that's what they always believed. Whereas a lot of these other coins support everyone and want all of crypto to succeed, but Bitcoin for some reason seems to think they're just way better than everyone else. There's only room for one coin and not for these others. And anything short of just a Bitcoin reserve would be a disappointment to them. So I'd love to hear your thoughts below if you think those other 4 coins deserve to be involved in a reserve, if you think it should just be Bitcoin and all these other ones should play some sort of role but not in the reserve, or what that looks like. But that's been the big topic about what's going to happen Friday, and a lot of people are holding out hope that it's just going to be Bitcoin. A lot of people holding out that it's going to be all 5. And you have people supporting each and every coin, thinking that their coin should have a larger allocation than it should compared to what others are thinking. So there's a lot of unknowns yet, and I think Friday we're going to get a little bit of clarity. I really hope we get some clarity because all these unknowns are just, pretty soon people are going to be disappointed, and that hype's going to be gone. Prices are going to drop because prices have been rising merely based on a lot of hope and a lot of rumors, but not on a lot of action yet. It's just based on what Trump's been saying, what's rumored to be happening. And so, like, if we don't get some news, if we don't get some clarity soon, we could see prices come back down. So I'm really hoping Friday we do get some more information. Based on the information we got Sunday, that's the most information that we've gotten so far. That's the most specific we've gotten so far. So that leads me to believe that's just precursoring what's going to come up Friday. So with that, I want to play a short clip from someone, Anthony Pompliano, who believes heavily in Bitcoin and thinks, although he does believe in these other altcoins, he believes it should just be a Bitcoin reserve. So I want to play devil's advocate. I want to play both sides of the story, and I want to play this for you guys to start off. So let me know your thoughts and take a listen. I'm not going to play the full video, just a couple minutes of it.
Continue to circulate about the White House Crypto Summit, which is planned this Friday in Washington, D.C. This is the big meeting. All the boys and girls are going to get invited to it. This is the first time that industry leaders are going to meet in a public setting with the president's working group. And as they get together, the whole idea is to discuss key issues related to Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency industry. Now, one of the main topics of conversation, debate, controversy, I'd even argue that people can't stop thinking about this, is that people want to know what's going to happen with the strategic Bitcoin reserve. President Trump promised on the campaign trail that he would implement a Bitcoin-only reserve. If you don't believe me, go listen to his speech back in Nashville. He talked about a strategic Bitcoin reserve, not a crypto reserve. But more recently,
with that, I don't necessarily think he promised a Bitcoin only reserve. He was at the Bitcoin conference. He mentioned a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And to me, when I heard his statement there, he's at the Bitcoin conference and he was implying that there was going to be a reserve with Bitcoin in it. So for him to make that assumption that he promised a Bitcoin only reserve, I think that's a bit of a jump. I think he was promising a Bitcoin strategic reserve that would have Bitcoin in it. Whether it only be Bitcoin or not is another story, but that's kind of how I took it.
Recently, he posted online that a crypto-related reserve would include altcoins like Ethereum, Solana, XRP, and Cardano. The backlash on this proposed bait and switch was loud and swift. Just go check on the internet. Everyone was yelling and screaming about it. Now, most people in the crypto industry...
That is true. A lot of people all over X, all over the internet, were very much complaining about this. Mainly Bitcoin maxis, people that only believed in Bitcoin, but you had everyone else, literally everyone else saying... or loving that these other coins were going to be included. It was good for crypto as an industry that we were going to get this, I feel like. So a lot of Bitcoin people, if you follow just Bitcoin people, you were hearing some people get upset. But if you follow other people, they took it as a big win for crypto as an industry, that President Trump is including these other coins, that he is looking at these other coins, and that it's just not one for all. So that's how I took it.
Including those who hold some of these altcoins that have been mentioned as being included, everyone agrees that the country's strategic reserve should be Bitcoin only.
Everyone agrees? Not so sure.
As I wrote earlier this week, there is nothing strategic for the United States with the altcoins. The whole idea of a strategic reserve is to have a reserve of an asset that is strategic, hence the name. Doesn't have to be Einstein to figure that one out. But it looks like the administration understands this point as well, thankfully. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick gave an interview earlier today, and he explicitly called out the different treatment of Bitcoin. In that interview, he said the following: "The president definitely thinks that there's a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Now, there will be a question of how do we handle the other cryptocurrencies. And I think the model is going to be announced on Friday when..."
So that is something I touched on one of my recent videos, is that I do think there is a possibility that something like that happens, that Bitcoin could be the major player in the strategic reserve, and these altcoins just have a minor role in them. Or possibly Bitcoin gets its own strategic reserve, then these altcoins have some other role in a reserve somehow. And so I feel like we're going to get some clarity there. So I feel like he might be onto something there, and that Lutnick's comments about Bitcoin is like, he's onto something. There is some truth there, and there is a possibility that these other four coins could be a little disappointed come the news Friday. So I do want you guys to be wary of that. I don't want to get hopes up too high for XRP. My hopes are still pretty high because XRP's on President Trump's mind. He wants people to look into it. He wants people to look into the reserve. But I do feel like there is room for disappointment if something like this were to happen. So I just want to say that I do agree with some of that.
When we do that, a Bitcoin strategic reserve is something the president's interested in. He spoke about it all during the campaign trail, and I think you're going to see it executed on Friday. So Bitcoin is one thing, and the other currencies, the other crypto tokens, I think will be treated differently. Positively, but differently. Now, this is an important development in the...
That's what I was mentioning earlier as well, that these Bitcoin maxis are saying like, oh yeah, he's still going to be positive about these other coins, but yeah, they're not nearly as good as Bitcoin. They're way down here. They're not nearly as good. Bitcoin deserves its own strategic reserve. You can treat these other ones positively, but they're kind of down here. So I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like there's different roles for all these currencies, and the fact that Trump thinks of all of them positively is a good sign. But for people to just say, oh, you don't deserve it, I deserve it, I don't necessarily agree with that.
In a broader conversation, you have the Commerce Secretary saying, wait a second, all of those rumors may not be right. Bitcoin is still going to be treated differently. We are still going to get a strategic Bitcoin reserve. If the United States creates a strategic Bitcoin reserve without the altcoins, then most Bitcoiners, I think, will feel like Trump delivered on his campaign promise. If he creates this crypto strategic reserve, I think people are going to feel like there was a bait and switch. And so does that mean that the president will be abrasive towards the other coins? No, not at all. He can be just as supportive of other coins without putting them in the country's strategic reserve. And it seems like that's where we're going to end up. We're going to learn more about this on Friday, but imagine a world where we have a strategic...
I'm still confused at how he thinks it seems like that's where we're going to end up when we just saw Sunday President Trump mention all 5 of those coins in a strategic reserve, and we haven't heard anything from him since. And he's saying like, oh, it seems like we're going to end up with a Bitcoin only strategic reserve and then just positive sentiment around the other 4 coins. So from what we know, from what's actually been said, all 5 will be included somehow in a reserve, and that's what I'm going to be hoping for come Friday, but we will certainly see what happens.
Bitcoin reserve, and yet the administration is still positive towards crypto more broadly. That would be kind of a rational, common sense middle ground that I think a lot of people could get on board with. Now, in the meantime, there are a few trends that are worth paying attention to across the Bitcoin network. For example, let's take a look at the balances on.
So just wanted to share that with you guys, just a couple minutes of that. Let me know your thoughts below, if you agree with him, if you don't agree with him, if you think Friday's news will get anything from it, how you think things will be allocated, and if you think these other 4 coins will be included. So that said, let's dive into this, which I found interesting. So this chart kind of breaks down ETF applications made in USA, mentioned by Trump, and blockchain projects that have attended the White House. Here you can see only 2 have fit all 4 things. We have XRP and ADA. They're made in the US. They have ETF applications, blockchain projects that have attended the White House, and they have been mentioned by Trump. As you can see here, these are the 5 that have been mentioned by Trump. Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think, are here to stay in the long term. I am not taking anything away from them. They are the real deal. They're going to play an important role in this country, and the only one that they're not in the circle of blockchain projects to attend the White House for obvious reasons, and then they're not made in the USA, but they are so big and so powerful. Bitcoin's the major player. Obviously, they're going to be included somehow. And Ethereum, the Trumps, you can see how much they're buying. They are loading up on Ethereum. Ethereum's going to play a role as well. So then that leaves you XRP and ADA that have all 4 of these big things that people look for. And I feel like that's just such a big indicator for a coin going forward right now. So that's one of the major reasons why I'm so high on XRP. You see all these different signs everywhere, and I'm not overlooking them, and I think we are going to get some great news soon. So pay attention to these signs, and I think we will be rewarded. Going into the price today, we're up 1.5%, hovering around 250, which is good for now. I think we're going to be fairly steady coming up until Friday when we get that news, and then we're either going to leave a little disappointed and the price is going to drop, or we're going to get some big news and the price is going to go up. I have a hard time believing that come Friday, come that crypto summit, we're going to be around 250. I feel like we're going to get up to that $2.80 to $3 range, or we're going to drop to that $2 to $2.25 range, somewhere in there come Friday. So stay tuned for that. We'll see, and I think we're just going to be hovering right around this 250 mark until then. Fear and greed index around 20 today. Last week 21, yesterday 15. We are gaining a little bit, which is good news, but we are still in the extreme fear stage. And when I see extreme fear, I see buying opportunities. When other people have fear, when people are selling, that's typically the time to buy. So that's what I'm doing at this time. Going into some more big news from today, Justin, CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, says Ripple is proud to support the launch of the National Cryptocurrency Association. The new era has begun. Brad Garlinghouse says Ripple is proud to support the launch of the National Crypto Association. Over the last few years, crypto has catapulted to the mainstream. Today, 55 Americans hold and use crypto, and many more are curious. Where, when, and how can I use this tech in my life? This is what I was saying the other day as well. We are still so early in the industry. People don't know where, when, and how yet. Like, once we establish the where, when, and how, it's going to really take off in my mind. We are still super early, and why I think it is such a great time to be accumulating right now is who knows where we're going to be in 4 years once we start to answer some of these questions. The National Cryptocurrency Association, a chain-agnostic, non-political nonprofit, is here to help by educating and raising awareness of all the utility that crypto technologies are bringing to real people every day. So that's going to be huge for the industry. This association is going to help educate people on the utility that crypto provides, and Ripple is going to be a major supporter of them. Just yet another way Brad Garlinghouse is getting Ripple out in front of many different people. Ripple is everywhere, and I feel like they are going to get rewarded in the long run. They are doing everything they can to get their name out there. So just yet another sign that Ripple is going to be one of the leaders during this next bull run. And now finally, like I talked about earlier, the president of Ripple talks about how the floodgates are about to open. She talks about Bank of America, and I found this super interesting. So I want you guys to take a listen and see what you guys think.
It feels like the floodgates are going to open this year, doesn't it? I mean, so within the past week, a couple weeks, so SAB 121 being called back or rolled back. And I mean, within, it felt like minutes, you hear from CEOs.
So when SAB 121 got rolled back, now crypto has some clarity with how it can be used in banks. So that's what she was talking about there.
Like Bank of America saying, we're all in. And, these are...
Bank of America reached out right after that. She confirmed and said, we are all in. She just let that out of the bag. That is a massive hint. Like, Bank of America CEO reaches out to them after that got repealed or rescinded and said, we are all in on XRP.
These are institutions that Bank of America was one of our early partners when we were doing kind of like the messaging software only payment solution. So we've worked with these types of banks for a long time, and the lack of clarity and I think in the more recent time, even hostility toward, hey, using these assets and this technology is not okay, it's dangerous, which is not the best way to handle it, as we would say. But looking forward, I would say, yes, it seems like there's going to be a sea change this year. And even I could say post-November, the US election result, even just the ongoing conversations we've had with banks around being reserve bank or transaction banking partners for the stablecoin or for our payments business, like the tone and message changed overnight.
So since the election in November, she's saying that the tone of the talks with the banks changed overnight. She's had lots of conversations with these banks, and the tone and how they talk about how it's going to be used has changed overnight. That means they are having these talks. They are positive discussions. There is stuff going on behind the scenes that we should be paying attention to, and just take a listen to what she keeps saying.
It was quick.
Okay, so the floodgates are about to open, she said. Pay attention to these words. She is telling us that good things are coming to XRP, that good things are coming to Ripple, that they are putting their name out there, and this is just another reason why I am so bullish right now about XRP and about the long-term vision about where crypto is going. I am still a big believer in Bitcoin. I am not taking anything away from Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin Maxis reactions to these other coins feels like they feel threatened by what could come and the role that they could have, and they don't want that to happen. So hearing these comments leaves me very, very bullish. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about the reserve, about the crypto summit, what you're expecting or what you're hoping to hear come Friday, and then also about her comments about banks, about the banks' reaction since November, about their conversations. Like, this is just such big news to me that I am not I'm not just throwing that information away. I'm writing this down, taking mental notes, hey, these signs are here, pay attention, don't look away. XRP and Ripple are going to play a role. Banks are talking about it. These conversations are taking place. And with that, I think XRP, an $8 to $13 XRP this year is still very much in play. That is my price target for this year, is $8 to $13. I think between the crypto reserve that's coming up, between how they're going to be implemented in banks, between all of this information, ETFs potentially becoming in play, I think there's a lot of good news coming for Ripple, for XRP, and that's not even to mention the SEC case that a lot of people are assuming is going to end soon, especially with Trump mentioning XRP potentially being in the reserve. once the SEC case ends, once all these things start to happen, $8 to $13 is very reasonable, especially if we get a $10 trillion crypto market cap. I think, yeah, very reasonable. Give me your thoughts below. Very curious to hear. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those bell notifications. I'd love to interact with you guys more. Thanks for listening, XRP Army. I'm going to be waiting for Friday, and I cannot wait to bring you guys the news.